Hey Internet! So being a psychology major, we're always talking about and learning about how we think. We always do it in the context of this is what the normal reaction is. So in general, we tend to clump people together and say that if you're part of this group, you're going to think this way. It's normal that you think this way. I think it's easier for the brain to say, if I know what kind of person you are, I know how you're going to think about this thing. I think that's just kind of the way that people like to do things. But I was just thinking about it the other day, and realistically, no person fits completely in one group. Now, I don't know if this happened to anyone else, but when I was a kid, definitely younger than 10, I had, as many kids tend to have, a really self-centered view of the world. At one point, I even thought that I was the only real person and that everyone else must have been androids, some sort of weird computer program that was programmed to respond to me. Kind of like the Truman Show. I had this thought once that maybe when I wasn't around, nothing was happening. That somehow everything that was happening around me was happening because I was the only real person. And this idea stayed with me for several years, I believe. Not that I actually thought I was the only person, but it was just this kind of thing that I tended to think about every once in a while. And then I saw an episode of the show Arthur on PBS. You know, he was the little aardvark guy, and he had the bunny friend. And there was actually an episode of Arthur where he walked around, and the whole episode was drawn from his point of view. So there was even like these rounded edges of the screen, like it was coming from his eyes. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I couldn't be the only person because somebody had to have designed this show and written this show, and they have the same way of going about the world as I do. Unless the androids just wrote that to make me think so. So after that, I kind of reconciled the fact that I probably wasn't the only person in the world. But what got me thinking about this the other day was that I tend to try and figure out how people are going to respond to things. Also, I tend to do, with my job and with school, a lot of planning things, and I try to figure out what would be interesting for other people and how would other people like to accomplish things. But it got me thinking, how do I really know how they think? Because maybe the logic that I'm using to figure out how they're going to react based on their personality, maybe that's not the same logic that occurs when their personality manifests into their actions. Maybe the way that I'm rationalizing things, and maybe the way that I think other people are going to rationalize things, isn't the same. But perhaps that's the whole point of psychology, is we can't know how people are going to react to things actually, because nobody fits in these broad stereotypes that we make lines and we fit everyone in between these lines. So we have to find some way to lump people together so that we have a general idea, a general scheme to base our thought processes off of. I think if we can all keep in mind that the way that we process things and the reasons why we react are different than the way other people react, it would help us a lot to maybe not understand other people, because I'm not sure that we can ever fully understand another person, but maybe to ease the social interactions and relationships that we do have. One of my big philosophies is that we shouldn't ignore personal differences. We should celebrate them and encourage them. So maybe accepting that we're different and that everyone thinks about things differently is enough. Tolerance and acceptance are key. And I think if we have that, we'll be fine. Okay, everybody. Until next time. See y'all later.